Hello, everyone. This is Gerald Weathersby again with Politically Speaking, July 1st, 2013. And this is the continuation of our surveillance broadcast, Surveillance Part 2. And so, just to kind of reiterate, we were discussing speeding tickets and whether or not giving speeding tickets to drivers is constitutional under the law. The main point of the discussion was, of course, the manual for uniform traffic control devices, the MUTCD, the manual for uniform traffic control devices, which basically was implemented by the federal government, and it is supposed to be used by the states. Any state implementing a control device in regards to transportation needs to operate using the guidelines set forth in the MUTCD. It has been stated by the Supreme Court that a speed limit is an arbitrary invention of basically a fiction, an arbitrary invention of fiction, and without any scientific engineering evidence to support it, thereby making speed limits unconstitutional. However, the states thus far, not one state has complied with the MUTCD. Not one state has paid an engineer or any other sort of scientific entity to perform research based on speed limits and what would be acceptable speed limits, etc., based on highway location, the length and size, width of highways and roads, etc. So really, the fact that not one state has complied and has continued giving out speeding tickets on a regular basis is truly a smack in the face to Americans, and basically says to me, what we don't respect the American intellect enough. We don't expect that Americans will be informed. Why should we spend money to um, to have people perform these studies if we don't have to? And that is truly the essence of the problem. Governments think like corporations. Governments, state, local, and even our federal government, they think like businesses versus governments. Governments are to serve the people, to protect and serve the people of the United States in our best interests. Governments, and whether they're the state, local, or federal, their main purpose is not to make money and to figure out ways on how to make more money for themselves. And unfortunately, that's what it has come to in the United States. So continuing on in regards to surveillance, we wanted to move on to automated surveillance, aka traffic cameras, and some of the things that have been going on around the country. Now, it was kind of surprising to find that luckily and fortunately, there are 29 states within the union that have said that automated traffic control devices are unconstitutional and therefore illegal. 29 states. There are another 18 states, 18 plus states, where they are using automated systems to in the form of traffic control devices. Once again, in the name of public safety. So let's take a quick look around the country at some situations. Here most recently in the state of Ohio, where you had a city of 2,000 people, Elmwood Village, and the residents found out after the fact, okay, after the fact, that cameras had been installed at some major intersections. In a 2-month period after these cameras were installed, 20,000 tickets, citations, were given out. Now, obviously, there are people that pass through the town that don't live in the town. But again, a town of 2,000 people gave out 20,000 citations. And those citations netted them $1.5 million. Now, apparently, when the people of Elmwood Village became aware that traffic cameras had been put in place, had been installed, they were incensed and they went to court to have the cameras removed. A circuit court judge that presided over the case, Robert Ruhlman, and this was actually just recently in the news. Judge Ruhlman said, and I quote, "This is a scam. This is a scam," is what the judge said. And he said it is a scam that the motorists cannot win. So if you kind of read between the lines a little bit with that, he didn't even mention public safety, which is of course why these cameras were put in place, for public safety. Now, if you know anything about governments, a government, a governing body in a town of 2,000 people, they have a very, very, very limited number of resources. I mean, if you only have 2,000 people in the town, you can't really raise that much money. You don't have a broad tax base of people to kind of raise income. So why not put up cameras, surveillance cameras, and illegally, unconstitutionally ticket people for, I don't know what the infractions were, probably speeding or running a yellow light, etc., etc. In that 2-week time period, they were able to raise $1.5 million. Now, for a governing body that small to raise $1.5 million, they would have had to have, bake sales and fundraisers for the next 500 years to raise $1.5 million. But instead of, taking the high road, the legal road, they, quite frankly, infringed on the citizens of the United States of America in order to fatten their pockets. What is a governing body of 2,000 people, or a municipality that governs 2,000 people? What are they going to do with $1.5 million? And so, hats off to the people of Elmwood Village. Now, you have another state, the state of Iowa, whereby it was brought to the House, the House of Representatives for the state of Iowa. I believe this was in 2008, and the governor of the time vetoed a bill that would have outlawed cameras. Why would the governor veto the bill? The bill was brought by the people, by the legislature who represent the people. So obviously it's what the people wanted. The governor vetoed it. Why? It begs the question, why, Governor, would you veto a bill that the people want, that the people are in support of? Big business, maybe? Probably. And so now, as we speak, the Transportation and Safety Board of the state of Iowa are actually putting plans in place to install traffic control devices along the state highways and in majors in the major cities, for example, Iowa City. And their reasoning, as always, is public safety. But we know that it is all about revenue with a capital R. The city of St. Louis, they've installed cameras all over the city. Chicago, New York, LA, Miami, etc., etc., etc. And so, again, here at Politically Speaking, our goal is to bring these sorts of egregious infractions against the American people to the forefront. These things are the things that should be overwhelming the news wires, the newspapers. How is it that a city, a town, a village, any community can install surveillance cameras on the people of those communities without so much as even letting the people know? It's absolutely absurd. And if any of these things were to go in front of the Supreme Court, I can almost assure you, definitively, they would not stand up against the Supreme Court. As we discussed in the first surveillance video, even surveying me and you while we're driving down the highway is unconstitutional if it is being done without any definitive scientific and proven reason. You can't just perform surveillance on the American people for nothing. I mean, that is one of our basic rights, is that we are free from surveillance. Any sort of unwarranted surveillance. We are free from that. But look around. I mean, the city of Chicago, I think they said, the last time I read, there was something like over 45,000 cameras in the city of Chicago. And New York and LA and all the other major cities are not too far behind. And these cameras are going up in the name of protecting our citizens. In the Boston bombing, you had a situation whereby martial law was imposed on the people. So let's say you or me, we live in the city of Boston, and all of a sudden we're watching the news, and of course we want these suspects brought to justice. But you are telling me not to leave I cannot leave my home. I can't go to Walmart to get my son some diapers. I can't go drive down the street to check on my elderly parents. I can't go to the bar to have a drink. I can't go to the park to throw the football around with some buddies, or with my son, with my daughter. Ron Paul said it best, and it really didn't make much news, but it should have. He said that the act of the city of locking down the city and telling U.S. citizens that they were not legally not allowed to come out of their home was worse than the bombing act itself. And I agree. We agree here at the Politically Speaking. We agree totally with that. We'll see you next time. Thank you.